Jack, I want to talk about honeypot campaigns.
A honeypot campaign. That it's a great name.
You find it,
What?
you coined
What?
it.
Yeah, I coined it, but nobody else knows what it is. So
Oh, yeah, yeah.
help us out. What the heck's a honeypot campaign?
A honeypot campaign is um, you basically have your target customers reaching out to you in order to try to, thinking you're a client. And it's sort of like revert it. And, it's not quite the mouse and whisker when you actually have to contact someone, disguising yourself as a client. Here's more like you put yourself up in the world and then people just, it's like sharks, you put like a fish in the water and every shark
Yeah,
just come in, right? It's a
yeah.
honeypot. So I had this sort of like thinking, imagine, for example, you're selling something to um, companies who are, let's say, an agency of developers, right? So all you have to do is to post a project or like a job ad, like saying, hey, we're looking for a developer, even though you may not be looking for a developer. And suddenly, out of nowhere, you're going to have like 30 whatever, dev shops that are going to contact you and say, hey, we know you're looking for XYZ. Can we actually help you? And it's like, oh, you know what? I happen to sell a
Okay.
service that could help you.
Right. Okay. So
We jump on a call.
I have two examples. One where I've been the honeypot where that happened to me and I took out my wallet and I
Nice.
paid for something. And then I had another instance where a client had told me they used something like this. All right,
I
I'll
want to
tell you
hear about it. Yeah.
yeah. Um, while I've set the hook in,
Okay.
I no, I'm gonna do my little pitch here, and then I'm gonna tell the story. It's actually, do you remember having James Schramko on the podcast?
I do.
Yeah. So he basically whatever. I'm getting ahead of
Oh,
myself.
he did that with you,
Yeah, it
bastard.
was wonderful. But
Nice.
you
Okay.
are not sitting there with a working honeypot campaign. You may wonder how to turn cold prospects into warm sales qualified leads. So at salesbread.com, we're going to bring you one lead a day by sending ultra personalized cold emails and LinkedIn messages on your behalf. So you don't have to worry about list building or personalization or copywriting or outreach strategy, even putting together a honeypot. Maybe not, probably not. But that's sounding interesting. You want a healthier sales pipeline for 2024, head over to salesbread.com and let's start a conversation, do some brainstorming.
Awesome. And if you want to do it yourself, head over to quickmail.com for an amazing automation system for doing cold outreach and just outreach in
Right.
general on LinkedIn and emails. All
Okay.
right.
So here's like, don't let me forget, Jeremy, because this one, yeah. Okay. Just remember the word, like marketing geek or whatever, and I won't forget it.
Okay.
But the first Honeypot experience, we had invited James Schramko on our podcast. And before he exited, we stopped recording. And because of what he shared on the podcast, I was like, all right, James, I think I'm going to pay you to do X and Y and Z. And I did. And it was pretty great. So honeypotted, and I was happy about it. It worked out for James, whatever. Um, like there was an interesting intersection between something I needed, something he had, but I didn't know it before we spoke. Right. And I think you may be listening, say, oh, I do cold emails or cold campaign to do a podcast guest thing. Maybe that's a bit of a honeypot. Got one more for you. And this one's a little bit less of a obvious thought. So there was, between you and me, Jeremy, he was probably the CEO that had done the most exciting things that I've had a chance to meet in my career. He was like, I think he even started the call where he's like, this is such an early stage company that I invested in. I never do these calls, but this is the day I'm doing like these calls to prove the thing. So it was interesting, but here's what he was doing. He was building a two-sided marketplace, one of companies that needed to hire marketing talent, and then the other of marketing talent. So he put a job post on Upwork, right? And forget how many years ago this was, but he's like, look,
That
I
makes
have this
sense.
gig I need and I'm going to pay you. That was the missing link that I think we're going to struggle with on this podcast, to be quite honest, is it has to be a win without being unethical or not transparent. So he's like, I got a gig. It'll take an hour of your time. I'll pay you whatever your rate is. I want to speak to you about how your marketing brain would address this problem. And he's like, all right, I'm going to send you money, but we're going to brainstorm this problem I have. I have this platform. How would I get marketing experts like
Yeah,
yourself
and
to
they say like,
join?
well, I'm happy to
Come on,
create a profile.
come on. Shoot, I'll do it. Yeah, all right. Oh, okay, you'll do. And so Honeypot, it worked. I was on there. I did it. So it exists, but I think it's really hard to have it attract and have both parties be happy about it.
Okay, that's a fair point. Let me give you, it's not a counterexample. But it's very close to, anyway, I'll just say it. Look, basically, I receive a lot of cold outreach. Surprise, surprise. And most of the time, I just respond with like, hey, use quickmail.com for your outreach. Just like straight line, like I'm not like spending a lot of time. I'm not using
Right.
online sell. I just like,
Right.
and the reason why I do that, like quite honestly, is to stop the campaign. Because people stop, whenever they receive the reply. But I do have quite a few people telling me like, "Oh, I didn't know about QuickMail. That sounds nice. Like, I'd be up to like, show me why this is better than the
Yeah.
tool we're using or whatever." I'm like, damn, there may be something here to do. I mean, for me, in my cases, and I'm thinking maybe that stuff kind of apply also to other things. And if I'm more clever about this, then I think we should definitely like build a proper pipeline where people just constantly come to us anyway for doing the cold outreach, right?
Right.
And I think as part of my signature, I started to amp it up a little bit with just like, hey, this, check out how QuickMail is great or whatever, type of thing. So when I reply, it's automatically part of it. So that's sort of thing like I'm starting to think, and yeah,
Right.
it's the honeypot in itself, right?
Right.
Because
So I
have a
think it
company.
depends who you're selling to. So if you're selling to salespeople, showing up where salespeople would prospect solves that problem. And your solution was just to reply with a counter offer. And even if it works 1% of the time, it's a brainless. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's pretty much like almost free. It's free leads because I know that they are using those systems in order to reach out to me. So, and we have like the more I'm talking about it, the more it becomes obvious to me. Like we have a switch, policy. Like, hey, if you're using another tool, just let us know, send us your invoice, and then we'll just credit you, on QuickMail. So it's like a no-brainer to sort of like switch and try. But especially when you're using like a very expensive tool, like before coming to QuickMail. But I'm thinking like that could actually, can we actually just quickly brainstorm on other services we can have? And then let's see, how would we put a honeypot in place? Like, what would that look like?
Right. Okay. So what if we went the investor route? I think it helps to find an example, start with like the end user. So imagine you're an investor. You got all this cash and you're looking for startups to invest in. Okay?
Isn't that usually the other way around? It's like, it's like people just like, hey, can I get your cash? Because that's why it's such an easy campaign. It's like, hey, can I pay you? It's like, yeah.
Perfect. All right, right. Reverse roles. We're the founder after some.
And we're trying to get funded, right?
Okay. So the name of the game would be to get investors to contact us first. Okay. So what if we were a PR tool and we basically said it pull out an advert or something, a post where it's like, get, I don't know, $10,000 worth of free PR insights for your startup that you just invested in. Get this free tool. Is that what we're talking about? Like you're an investor.
I'm not. We may. Okay, let's do one or two steps back and let's use your favorite market because I think then there is no blurring line, right? Let's say you have a tool for HR directors.
Jeremy thinks
and the HR directors
only do HR outreach.
So let's say we have that. How can we get the HR director to reach us to us in order for us to sell us a SaaS product for HR
Exactly.
directors?
Couldn't it be that there's like a free version? Isn't that what the free version is? A honeypot, Jeremy? True or false?
I would say more lead magnet could actually be better, which is
What
which
is
is
the
basically
difference?
um well, in the first one, it's like we should really find what HR directors are
Or
really
after?
attracted to, or maybe it's talent, right?
Okay, it's talent. It's
So
talent.
that means we should have a lot of, let me just spitball here, a lot of fake profile that will actually match what the HR directors are looking for. And then reaching out to them and say, hey, would you be interested in joining your company? Even for like they're not real. Then how would you actually spin that? It's like, are
I've
you
got
using
this.
this system?
I've
Otherwise,
got
I'm
it.
not
No, no,
applying.
no. No. Look, you want to hear something funny?
Yeah, tell.
I just figured it out. I just figured it out.
Nice.
A past client started a technology recruiting firm. Why? Because his past role was CTO and he kept getting job solicitations. Hey, I see you're the CTO. We want to hire you for our thing. It's right up your
Clever.
alley. And he said, you know what? I
I'm
can't
gonna
help you
use that.
because but I'll tell you what, I know someone that can.
Oh,
And he used those
brilliant.
inquiries to jumpstart a new tech recruiting firm.
Fucking awesome, man. This is
Yeah,
this is brilliant. This is absolutely brilliant. It's like, hey, I can't, I'm working, which is technically true, right? I'm building my own
sure.
company.
But
How
I'll
about
tell
you
you
use
what.
those guys? They're good. I know because
Mhm.
basically I'm working there. That's my company.
There you go. Or even better, he didn't even like frame
This
it
is
as
brilliant.
use my recruiting company. It's like, hey, I got this full time. Thank you for your offer. But if you're looking, who are you looking
I
for?
would
This
I
and
would
that.
honestly use these guys. Or I would
There you
honestly
go.
use this company. This is
There
brilliant.
you go. There you
Fucking
go. And
brilliant.
so what was a honeypot? A good job title with experience.
A
That's
good
it.
profile.
Good
Nice.
profile.
You could even create fake profile, on LinkedIn and just like basically attract. Like you could even like say like, "Hey, I'm working at IBM." Like they'd never do anything against. So
Good point.
it's
But
borderline,
but
but
there's
definitely it is
a
good
red
honeypot.
alert. There's a red alert here. I think there's a way to do it while playing on the up and up. I think you can do this ethically, like my client that I mentioned, and I think the brain power will be put towards something that works and is going to be a win-win. Because the reality is, if you start that relationship off on the wrong foot or something that's dishonest, I don't think you can actually close that person. Or if you do, that's going to be not in your favor. So
That's
um,
fine. So we have this case nailed down, right? The firm. What about the SaaS? If you're actually trying to sell a new SaaS system for HR directors, how do you actually come back to that? That's tricky, right?
it is, but let's say, give me something it helps with. Okay, let's say they're the recruit, the HR person at the company is trying to recruit. Let's keep that
Right.
going.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
and
And maybe he has like Workable or whatever one of those ACT tool.
right. So Jeremy, I think you can do a very similar thing. Let's say that that person is recruiting CTOs or
Yeah,
whatever insert hot job title
yeah.
is. That, the reply could be like your quick mail response where it's like, look, I'm not accepting any new offers, but if XYZ is a nightmare for recruiting the CTO, take a look at this.
Yeah. That works
It's
too. I don't think it's as
it's a 30
powerful,
second. It's not
but
as powerful for sure.
but I mean, you
But
could even like automate like with QuickMail, you could have like an inbox that only purely just listen to things and automatically add people to campaigns. So it's like whatever,
yeah,
it's like it's an inbox that is never used, but whenever I receive an email,
right.
it sends automatically this sort of like outspeed campaign. So that's still a possibility.
I think wheels are turning for, you're listening to this podcast, you probably can't put your finger on exactly how you'll use this, but something may come up 3 months from now where a honeypot idea comes up. And by all means, I think this is a if you can put it together correctly,
That could be
could be
very
like,
powerful.
it's like a sleeper campaign, Jeremy. It's beautiful.
Oh,
It's like,
nice.
there you go. It's like another lead source. You just figured out what your competitors are trying on Google Ads or whatever. butting their head against the wall, something you just, figured out lickety split. So great idea.
Look at that. That's awesome. You get free leads, constantly coming up. Like, that's brilliant.
And there's the title for the cast. And so if you want more at this point, head over to course.quickmail.io. That's the masterclass on cold email that Jeremy and I put together after months and 3 different shoots across Europe and Asia to make sure that we've left no stone unturned. And you're thinking about something, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think I want to end up on that. Next year, Google and everything is going to slam you for, spam report. But you're never going to do a spam report if your prospect is contacting you first.
Oh my God.
So, honeypot 2024, man. This is the future.
Nice. All right, Jeremy, thanks for the honeypot episode. Let's see what and if you come up with one, reach out, send us a comment here. We want to hear about your honeypot success. Thanks,
podcast at quickmail.io. Thanks, Jack. Awesome cast.
Yeah, awesome.